Do you remember when DeSantis said this? Watch.
We reject woke ideology. We fight the woke in the legislature. We fight the woke in the schools. We fight the woke in the corporations. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die.
The woke mob. So nothing about how he shipped immigrants to Martha's Vineyard and wasted taxpayers' dollars in Florida, but that woke mob, he definitely wants to stop. Now that was DeSantis after he got reelected in the past midterms. This all stemmed from DeSantis' Anti-Woke Act, which he proposed in December of 2021 and signed into law in April of this year. This headline: Governor Ron DeSantis signs legislation to protect Floridians from discrimination and woke indoctrination. So this legislation obviously and rightfully was met with a backlash. Ron DeSantis faces Florida lawsuit over anti-woke law. Or how about this headline? Positively dystopian: Florida judge blocks DeSantis anti-woke law for colleges. A judge determined policies from the law violate the First Amendment free speech protections, along with due process rights in the 14th Amendment on college campuses. You know, this guy has so much more, Francesca, that he could be doing to make sure that the lives of people who live, work, and play in Florida are enhanced. But oh no, he's going on a rampage against wokeness.
I mean, look, I don't know what you hear when you hear we're gonna fight the woke, we're anti-woke. Florida is where woke goes to die. I hear people of color. I hear immigrants. I hear Black Americans. I hear undocumented people. But specifically, I just hear like people of color. Like basically he's saying, and I think of the Black Floridians, Latinos living in Florida, like, what are you saying? That they go there to die? Because that's effectively what it is. It is shorthand. It is the same way that in the 80s and 90s, you say thug and you mean Black person. You say gangbanger and you mean Black person. Now it's just woke. It's even broader, but it's civil rights. It's like we stand against civil rights. We stand against equality and we stand against any amount of justice. So just say what you mean. And I know we're gonna get on because they were forced to say what they meant, but I think it's really important and it's interesting that a judge struck that down on college campuses, saying, no, you're literally limiting free speech by preventing people from talking about inequality, civil rights, histories of this very country we live in. So at least there's a small win there.
Definitely a small win. This man is delusional. How he got reelected, God only knows. I mean, Democrats. Well, anyway, I won't even go down that rabbit hole.
We know what happened.
Yeah, we know exactly what happened. So let me not even pretend that I don't. But thank God, you're right. A small glimmer, a light at the end of this tunnel. But it was during the trial of suspended Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren, who DeSantis claims defied his anti-abortion stance, that attorneys for DeSantis were asked to define woke. And here it is. During the 3-day trial this week challenging Governor Ron DeSantis' suspension of Hillsborough County State Attorney Andrew Warren, attorneys for Warren were able to put the question to aides for DeSantis, who called Florida the place where, quote, woke goes to die, end quote, in his victory speech after being reelected last month. Mm-hmm. So this is what they had to say. To me, it means someone who believes that there are systemic injustices in the criminal justice system, and on that basis, they can decline to fully enforce and uphold the law. It would be the belief that there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. Good God Almighty, Francesca, the truth comes out. And the fact that you are dealing with a governor of a state in the United States of America who believes that all the systemic failures of this nation based on race in particular are over. The man should not be anywhere near this kind of power if he believes that all of the felons of this country have been fixed. I mean, Francesca, one of the reasons he doesn't want anybody talking about wokeness is because he doesn't want people to know. It's revisionist history, is what I say.
Totally, and it's interesting that when push comes to shove, notice how the words race are absent from that definition, because DeSantis is one of those Republicans that's still trying to code their language, and woke is a word that just, again, codes. When they actually want to say, we are trying to defend white lives, supposedly, which are supposedly under attack, and white people are the victim. That's effectively what they're saying. That's what the crowd is cheering for. But in the court of law, they can't say that. So instead, they zoom out and they give this really broad description. Anyone who thinks there are systemic injustices. And you're like, well, I'm pretty sure anyone, no matter what color they are, thinks there are systemic injustices in this country. So like, what are you really talking about? Because you could talk about working class people or people who can't get healthcare, poor folks or whatever, can't find a job. That's a systemic injustice and nothing to do with where you're from or your histories of racism in this country. So it's like, it's funny how they shy away from the real definition that we all know they mean. And they give that broad definition, which, as you pointed out, is so ridiculous in the first place.
No, it really is. And Newman added, so this wasn't it. Let's go on to what he added. Newman added that DeSantis doesn't believe there are systemic injustices in the United States. You know what? He would. He also emphasized he believed Warren's wokeism led him to sign the pledge not to prosecute abortion crimes, the primary factor that led to his suspension. Why? Because Warren had a consciousness? Is that what it was, Governor? And you lack one? I mean, it's very convenient for him not to believe that there are any systemic failures. White man in America not believing that there are any systemic failures in this system in the United States of America. So I know that the sanctimonious is full of it, but we need to check him anyway. And here is a breakdown by the Human Rights Watch of injustices that US lags behind in, just in case this governor needs to be reminded. The United States continues to fail to fulfill its human rights commitments, most notably in the area of racial justice, as reflected in the country's failure to end systemic racism linked to the legacies of slavery, abusive structures of incarceration, immigration enforcement, everything you just said, Francesca, and social control affecting many racial and ethnic minorities, and the black-white wealth gap that persists alongside an overall slight increase in economic inequality, which has been going on since the inception of this country. So Governor Ron DeSantis, just in case you didn't get a clue, we're gonna bold this, underline it, put an exclamation point, put a message in a bottle, and send it to you on a train, because you need help. I mean, this brother needs a whole lot of help. He really does.
No, it's amazing how you're like, I don't see injustice from my ivory tower of privilege. Like, of course you wouldn't. Because things are good for you.
That's right. That's it. They're good for him. And I would be sitting here actually all week long if we broke down the injustices across the country. But let's just look at Florida itself. Again, Governor, this is for you. Florida's voter fraud arrests are scaring away formerly incarcerated voters. DeSantis made a spectacle of arresting voters with felony convictions. Now some eligible voters are opting out of midterms, even beyond Florida. Some of you may be old enough to remember that there was a vote in the state of Florida to give returning citizens the opportunity to be able to vote in Florida. The people of Florida overwhelmingly voted for that. And this governor and that legislature found a way to taint that and to take that away. And let's take a look. And this heartbreaking statistic, more than half, 56% of Florida's 4 million children are living in or near poverty or in households that are one missed paycheck or lost job away from affording basic needs. Nearly 2 in 10 or 17% of Florida's children live below the federal poverty line, which means earning less than $26,000 and some change per year for a family of 4, ranking Florida as the 35th among the other states. The majority of these children, 71%, are Black or Latinx. And even if they were white or any other ethnic group, it would be the same thing. Governor, check yourself, baby, before you wreck yourself. You are a problem. Florida, please do not. This man got to go, Florida. Do us a favor in the United States of America. Y'all need to wake up, because this governor ain't woke at all.